sign last, okay? And it's just unfortunate because you're the last sign of the year. And I've been going with Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, etc. And then you guys are usually last. And I bet you're probably sick of being last. This month, however, I feel like something is coming through where I'm sensing that maybe the messages might be a little bit more urgent for you guys for the month of November, but it's deciding to come out. So I'm going to do your video right now. You're third in line. Okay. And funnily enough, I'm using this new deck, by the way. It's called the White Sage Tarot. And it's a combination of like animal totem and just, standard tarot of imagery. Okay, so if you want to get a copy of this deck, by the way, if I've included a link in the description box. Funnily enough, when I started using this deck, and this is the first time I've used this deck, I'm getting a mix of images and messages. Okay, and the messages were very succinct. And so I'm going to relay everything that came out when I was shuffling the cards for you guys. So the first thing that I'm seeing here across the board is imagery when it comes to eyes, okay? And, the eyes are the windows to the soul, that cheesy saying. What I'm sensing here is there is definitely a perspective change. There is a difference in the way that you're looking at a situation. There's a difference in the way in which another person is assessing you, looking at you, as if their eyes have been opened for the very first time, okay? So the message that came through and the image that immediately came right after was a pair of new eyes. A pair of new eyes. And then the image that I saw was, I see this young man. He's got black hair. He's probably like a teenager, probably 13, 14 years old. He's got dark hair, and he looks almost like Japanese. He's in a classroom, and he's wearing glasses. And somebody was telling him, like, I think you might be colorblind. You're not seeing the full spectrum of the colors. You're not seeing, all the different hues, okay? And he's just like, no, I don't think so. But he has that idea in the back of his mind. And then he goes to see an optometrist, and the scene cuts into him, going into this, to see an optometrist. And she places a pair of glasses that are designed for people with his color blindness condition. And so keep in mind, you're seeing now things from his perspective, okay? Everything is like black and white. And then all of a sudden, these bifocals come on, and it hooks onto his ears and then lands on his nose bridge. And then he starts to see colors for the very, very first time. It is a lethargic, amazing experience. And this young man, he's still, very young. And he was just like, I can't believe I missed out on this my whole life. And keep in mind, it's not his entire life, okay? He's like 14, 15 in this image. But for him, in that moment in time, it's almost like, I can't believe I was not aware of this. I can't believe that it was like almost like right under my nose, but I was not able to see it. I can't believe I missed out on this experience. I can't believe that I was not aware of this. And I can't believe I've gone through my entire life, or what felt like his entire life, not having experienced this. Okay, so it was like a very tear-jerking, emotional, but also transcendental experience for him. Okay, because I feel like, in a way, he felt like I was broken and now I'm fixed. Okay, that's what it felt like to me. So let's unpack this message, because I feel like it's loaded with, context and subcontext. I honestly feel like you're dealing with somebody who is who's getting their vision back. And it's not just, it could be a physical vision, somebody who has gone through multiple surgeries when it comes to repairing their eyesight, somebody who has been, who might be getting even LASIK. But what I feel is it's in a spiritual way, it's like a life-changing moment where somebody is starting to see the situation for what it is, to see you for who you are for the very, 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 very first time. Somebody is starting to understand the gravity of the situation. Somebody's starting to understand that this is no joking matter. Sagittarius is not playing around. And Sagittarius is serious. And I feel like they're starting to catch the subliminal messages that you've been sending them. They're starting to understand the nonverbal cues that you have been communicating all along. They're starting to understand and pay attention to your micro expressions. When you're upset, when you're happy, when you're serious, when you're joking versus when you're not. Somebody is really laser focused and eyes on you, because now they're trying to make things right. Okay. And honestly, I just feel like a pair of new eyes is not so much about, having something brand new. It's about looking at a situation through a different lens, understanding a situation from a different perspective. I also feel an element here, definitely though, that the eyes are focused on you and somebody is seeing you for who you are, in your power, in your full glory for the very, very first time. And this is somebody that has been around for quite some time. Okay? I'm seeing like a tremendous amount of time. We're talking like years, decades together, years together. And they're starting to see you for the very first time. They're starting to understand you. And they're starting to also, I see like a little bit of intimidation, starting to understand that, Sagittarius is not playing around, okay? And the message that basically coincided with that is this really fierce figure. We have here the Queen of Wands, and I love this deck because of the imagery, the animals. So we have here the Queen of Wands. Look at her eyes. She is stone cold. And the traditional Rider-Waite depiction of the Queen of Wands, she's got the sunflower and the black cat. She's very loving, very, she's very like spontaneous. She's very attractive. She's very like bold. In this context, it's almost like the Ice Queen, okay? It's almost somebody who's like, I'm not joking around. It's somebody who can stare at you and they put you in your place, okay? So I feel like your energy is very pure and raw and domineering, but not in a bad way, commanding attention, as well as bold and fierce, okay? So this is the way that you're coming across for this month, and somebody is seeing you for the very first time, and seeing this situation, you embodying your power. And they're seeing this because something has been woken up in them, okay? Going back to the other message, I was broken and now I'm fixed. I feel that message pertains to, for many of you, there was a situation here that had you in a bind, okay? You didn't know how to go forward or backward. Two of Swords, indecisiveness. Look at that piece of gunk that's tying the swords together. It's like one decision rests upon another decision. The swords are about decisions, or about mental processes, or about communication. There might have been a standstill when it comes to communication. There might have been emotional blockages between you and another person. There might have been a stalemate, okay? There might have been like a icky, sticky, difficult situation. And what it does is that it creates a lot of binds, a lot of misgivings. I'm hearing a lot of like, the swords are sharp, right? And those are ribbons, that bundle of ribbon keeping it in place. The swords can easily cut through these ribbons. But I feel like it's a situation where it's a situation where the problem was very, very minuscule. It was very small, but it was very important. And because it's so important, you felt like you might not have had all the information. You felt like one decision rests upon another decision. And so you felt like you couldn't act. You felt like you didn't have all the knowledge. You felt like you didn't have all the information. You felt like it was better left alone than, sever the ties, okay? So I feel like you were dealing with somebody that you might have had a very strong emotional connection to, and you might have wanted things a certain way. And I do feel there is an element of two people butting heads, okay? Stubbornness, ego, pride. And I feel like it's coming out from both sides. And then I also feel like if this is like a connection, it might not have been a very healthy or a very good connection to be in. And I'm sensing this is the month, November, to splice through all the little swords, all the thoughts, all the mental processes, all the little pieces and scraps of information that at the end of the day, they don't really matter. All these small swords don't really matter comparatively, because some big news is coming into the picture to clear up that fog of confusion. Okay? Looking at a situation through a pair of new eyes, being able to see it exactly for what it is, being able to understand that these things don't really matter. These things are on the periphery. They don't have any bearing on the decisions that I need to make right now. They're minuscule compared to this other big decision that I have to make. And a lot of the times too, we come into, massive like awakening, realization, mainly because we see things in context, right? We think about, for example, and you guys are very big picture oriented, okay? You like to see the whole rather than all the interrelated parts. And people might blame you guys for not being very detailed, being a little bit careless, being a little bit like, not dotting your I's and crossing your T's, and you might like just rush through to get something done and out of your way. And you're not very careful with the little details. And I feel like that's generally true for a lot of Sagittarius people. And you are aware of this about yourself too. The tendency to rush things and the tendency towards carelessness. And I feel like, the part of about grown up, you have actively tried to mitigate your weaknesses, okay? You have tried to be a little bit more patient. You have tried to cross your T's and dot your I's. You have tried to take that extra few seconds to look over your work and to review everything that you're doing. But what I'm seeing here is a situation where you're starting to see things in context. So for example, this is just a very, very minor example, okay? You're going through your day and you're thinking like, what am I going to eat for lunch? I'm hungry. What am I going to eat for lunch? And then by the time dinner rolls around, you're just like, what am I going to eat for dinner? These are very, very small decisions, right? And then the next day you're at work and, you've got like a fire to put out over here. Somebody over here needs you. And so you're going through your day battling fires, putting out fires, setting things right, helping people, troubleshooting. And then before you know it, lunchtime comes and goes. And then, 5 o'clock rolls around. It's the end of the business day. And you're just like, wow, that was a very productive day. It's because you're making these bigger, more important decisions, and you're not mulling over the little side segue, peripheral things that in the greater scheme of things don't really matter. And that's what I mean by a pair of new eyes, okay? Looking at a situation and being able to prioritize, being able to toss out the decisions, the thoughts, the things that don't really matter. I'm seeing for many of you, you're seeing people, and you're Sagittarius people are very open-minded, but I feel like in some ways you have a fixed opinion about a person, a situation, a thing, and you have stuck to that fixed opinion. And now I feel like you're assessing or looking at a situation and in its entirety. You're just like, I thought this person was this way, but now they've proven themselves to be this way. And I like what I see. So I'm going to, trash the preconceived notions or my previous ideas or my previous thoughts of this person. And I'm going to treat them as this new person that has emerged. Okay. So you're very much about allowing others to reinvent themselves. You're very much about giving people second chances. You're very much about, I'll see it, I'll believe it when I see it. Okay. So there's definitely a lot of like changing of minds, changing of hearts, for the better, I feel. Being definitely more flexible, more open-minded. And I feel like not only is this change in your own awareness, it's helping you start to see a lot more optimism in a person, in a situation. Okay, so I feel like it's a very, very much needed good change that's coming into the picture for many of you. And then I'm also seeing as well, there is a person here that you're kind of like waving goodbye to. Okay, there is a situation. Emotionally, it was very, very messy. Okay, emotionally, you were very invested in it. You were butting heads with the other person. We have the moon in the back, which is, sheer emotion. And you had an emotional response every time this person deals with you. They know how to trigger you. They do a lot of things that, if anybody else did it, it would be fine. For example, leaving the toilet seat up. For example, not washing their dishes after they used a dish. Anybody else can do it, and it wouldn't irk you, okay? It wouldn't like cause a visceral reaction within you. But for whatever reason, when this person does it, it triggers something within you. And so I feel like there is a very complex emotional situation that I feel like you're triggered. You're easily triggered with this person. And you don't understand yourself why you're triggered. And you don't understand why it's becoming such a problem. I feel a step back, re-examine the situation, loosen the grip on this situation. There's a person that you've been dealing with. And I feel almost like, once again, I was broken and now I'm fixed. Okay? This person has been through their fair share of tribulations in life. They have not had an easy, upbringing. They've had to scramble. They've had to deal with, the worst things that a child have had to deal with. Okay, like abandonment issues, living in a place of lack, okay, lack of food, lack of shelter, lack of stability, lack of security. So this was somebody who has had like an emotional roller coaster of a childhood. This is somebody who has, had it all and then had it taken away. So they've dealt with a lot of emotional ups and downs, a lot of financial ups and downs in their life. And they're constantly used to, hoarding, for example, mainly because they have dealt with scarcity, and scarcity triggers anxiety in them. So when they have things, they can tend to be, like a little bit more on the selfish end, hoarding things, hogging things for themselves. And I feel like you've never understood this person. You've never been able to, explain their behavior, and you've never been able to sympathize. And I feel like there's a major breakthrough when it comes to understanding for this month. And I don't know if like you're put in a situation where you're starting to see things from their perspective. But I feel like you're looking at this situation in a brand new light. You're less critical. You're more receptive to what they have to say. You're easing up your energy, and you're definitely, you're able to see them. in a different light, okay, through a different lens, through a different framework, to be able to completely understand and unravel whatever this person is. Like, they might have been an enigma to you. You might have a lot of trouble understanding them. You're starting to unravel and you're starting to understand. So there is huge awakening, huge awareness coming into the picture. The other word, or the other phrase actually, that came out when I was shuffling is boiling a frog, okay? And that's an analogy. So let me just give you the context of the story, okay? So it's a situation where you want to cook a frog, right? Or you want to, I'm just going to explain it in the most straightforward way that I can. You put the frog in the pot, right? And the water in that pot is like room temperature. And the frog stays there. If you threw the frog in and it's boiling temperature, the frog is going to notice and it's going to hop out. So you started with room temperature, and then you put the pot over a fire, and then slowly, slowly, slowly the water, rises in temperature. And then before you know it, the pot boils over and the frog is cooked. And so basically what it means is, it's a situation where when there are very, very small, minute changes that are implemented or that are added on over a long period of time, we don't notice these changes. We see the situation as bearable. So we stay in it and we stick around, mainly because, we think like, oh, the changes aren't that bad. They're very gradual. They're very small, minute changes over large periods of time. It's not as bad as like changes happening in succession, one after another, in a very short period of time. That can feel very destabilizing. But if it's stretched out, then we barely feel it. So I feel like there's a situation here where there are a lot of changes happening in your environment, okay? And these changes are signaling to you some type of a shakeup, some type of a situation where you're going to have to decide, are you okay with this kind of like emotional roller coaster, fluctuations, changes in priority, changes in the dynamics, day in and day out? Okay, braid periods for you guys is all of these small, tiny, minor, little changes that have been happening to you from the beginning of this year until now have been very small, stretched out over long periods of time. But for this month, everything is reduced within 1 month, where you have like fluctuations, unpredictability. Everything is just, one after another. I feel like compressed into, a very short month of November. And so you're kind of like, this is being brought to your attention because it's telling you, look at it, before it was small and minor and you were okay with it. But now the same thing has happened and it's like basically the same thing. But you're noticing it now only because the time, the delay within the change is so short. Are you still okay with this? Are you still willing to put up with this? Why was it acceptable before, but not acceptable now? Mercury retrograde periods are times where things that we have swept under the rug kind of like come to the surface. Problems that we thought weren't that big, weren't that problematic, weren't deal breakers, become deal breakers in Mercury retrograde periods, because it's forcing us, and I feel greatly with this spread, examining your values. Okay, we have here the Six of Pentacles, weighing out the pros and cons, literally weighing out. Is it worth it? Is it efficient? Is it worthwhile? Is it a deal breaker? Is it balanced? Is it reciprocal? And is it fair? So I feel like all of these are key words regarding a situation that will be coming into the picture. And we have, interestingly enough, the Six of Swords, This is kind of like the freeing yourself, okay? Cutting off the ribbons. The Six of Swords is sailing away from a troublesome situation, okay? You're saying goodbye to this stalemate, this conflict. Queen of Cups, you know, this is like waving away, waving goodbye, sailing off, pushing yourself into the water, trying to experience something else, and getting out of this stalemate. And you're happily doing it, mainly because you want to move on to something that is a lot more balanced, a lot more reciprocal, a lot more worthwhile. And I feel like, once again, it's a situation where we start to see the solutions to all these problems. We start to see what is really important to us. We start to see, kind of like that boiling the frog, we start to see a situation where something might have, it's almost like the bath water has gone cold, or you know, we're seeing things through a new pair of eyes, and so it's not all fun and games anymore, or it's not all glamorous and novel anymore. We're looking for something a lot more stable, a lot more serious, a lot more pragmatic, and a lot more long lasting. And on either side of this, we have here Six of Pentacles, reciprocity, okay? I take this bundle, you take that bundle, and everything is fair. And on either side of that, we have you, the Queen of Wands, and possibly, you know, whoever you're dealing with, the King of Wands. This is a match. This is a perfect, supreme match. And what we see here, right in the middle, is, you know, that balance, the give and take, the situation where somebody is no longer taking you for granted, where somebody is like definitely made aware that I need to step up, that the Sagittarius has really, you know, come into their own. The Sagittarius has proven themselves. The Sagittarius is not playing anymore. The Sagittarius is making demands now. And so I feel almost like, you know, compromise, apology, not taking a situation for granted, coming into terms that, you know, it takes two to tangle, okay? It's not just about what you said the other day that upset me. It's more about, hey, we both contributed to the situation. Let's just focus on the solution for right now. So I definitely see a recalibrating, a rebalancing, and I almost want to say like viewing a situation for what it really is, okay, for like its importance in your life, and like vice versa. I do sense that somebody is definitely very, very aware of the impact that you have made, okay? In the past, they might not have understood you, and I feel like specifically this is a romantic partner. In the past, they might have underestimated you. They might have not have seen you for your sharp eyes, your ability to, you know, problem solve, your ability to be very decisive. They might not have seen these things about you. And for the very first time, their eyes are being made wide open, where they're starting to see how meticulous you are. And they're starting to see that maybe they're the sloppy one in the relationship. Maybe they're the ones that have not been pulling their weight. Maybe their crown is on crooked. So in the meantime, you know, they might have been judging you. They might have been underestimating you. They might have been looking at you and not seeing how regal you are. And now they're being made aware that, you know, I was looking at this situation from a wrong perspective. I was looking at this situation in the wrong way, through a wrong lens. So we have here somebody definitely wanting to fix things, somebody wanting to come back in and recalibrate the connection in this relationship. I also feel for some of you, this can play out in the work environment where you have kind of like surprised somebody, where you have, put in the work and doing the work really, really well. And, it's almost like you might be in a work environment where the workload is measured, or you have like quotas. You have quotas that you have to meet. You have cases that you have to finish up. Things are measured. So by the end of the day, your productivity is measured. And I feel like you are outshining the people in your environment. You're impressing the supervisors, the upper management, and the people that might have not noticed your effort, your work, your dedication, your what is that? Your level of productivity. Okay, so I feel like you have a laser sharp focus for this month. You're also, the relationship situation is going to round itself out because somebody is starting to see you and they're very impressed and they're a little bit intimidated, but they're trying to match up to your level. Okay. I do see inheritance coming through for the month of it's like things being passed down to somebody because they've reached legal age. So for example, somebody could like have access to the bank account, savings account, because they've reached a legal age. A bond might have matured and you can like withdraw it. There's some type of financial windfall coming into the picture, but overall I do see a lot of success. Okay, we have here the sun. And the sun basically indicates worldly success, visibility, getting the recognition that you deserve, being in the public eye, in the limelight. And, it is in an astrological context, okay? The sun is, with this card standing up, it represents the 10th house, which is career, public image, things like that, your reputation, the things that people see, especially in a professional work environment. And I see like there's a lot of uplifting energy, a lot of rebirth, and a lot of like, I usually look at this beetle as like pulling your weight, okay? It's like Atlas, being able to withstand a lot of challenges, withstand a lot of stress, not buckling under the pressure. So I feel like there's a lot happening in the month. Sagittarius people love a challenge. Okay, they love a challenge. Um, and I feel like you're in a position where you're rolling up your sleeves, you're, nose to the grindstone, and you have a renewed sense of purpose. Like, I'm going to get this done. I'm happily doing it. And I feel like you're getting a lot of massive recognition as a result. The last two cards that I want to talk about, and I want to touch a little bit on this Page of Wands. I'm definitely seeing here messages, communication coming through between you and another person. And I feel like there might have been some distance between you and another person, okay? Six of Swords is usually a travel card. Taking a trip, moving away, coming back even, traveling for leisure, traveling for work, traveling in order to communicate is what I'm seeing here with the Six of Swords and the Page of Wands. This is like invitation, social outings, somebody who has something to say and they're like finally taking the first step in order to communicate, okay? And it's falling on top of the Six of Pentacles, so I definitely feel like you might have turned cold or turned icy towards somebody that you really, really cared about, but for whatever reason in the past, they might have never carried their weight. You text them, they take like 2 days before they respond, and when you text them a paragraph, they take 2 days to respond, and when they respond, it's like, hi. You share with them some really deep, like transformative experience that you went through, and you share this story with them and they have like nothing to say back. So I feel like it was a situation where it left a lot to be desired. It left you feeling, I guess, like unappreciated. Okay. It just left you, I felt almost like out in the cold, like, the bath water has gone cold. The bath water has gone cold. Okay. And as fiery and passionate as you are, you want somebody to meet that passion. You want somebody to reciprocate. And I feel like you're in a position where somebody is just realizing that this is what the Sagittarius person wanted all along. This is what they've been trying to tell me. And I almost feel like you gave this person many, many opportunities, many chances, and you've gone a little bit cold on them. Okay? You've become a little bit skeptical, like this change in them is never going to happen. You stop sharing your stories. You stop like texting them paragraphs. You might have stopped communicating with them. You might have been on the verge of turning your back because this bird is like almost halfway turned, walking away. And then they do come back in with these messages, wanting to communicate. And I do see an apology. I do see somebody who's been around the world and they come back a little bit disheveled because the crown is on a little bit crooked. But now they get it. Now they're just like, Sagittarius, like, I didn't realize. I made a mistake. I messed up. I've been around the block. I've flown south and, I've experienced the greener pastures there, and it doesn't compare. Now I understand what you were trying to tell me. Now I understand how to reciprocate. And I just keep hearing like reciprocity, because with the Six of Pentacles, it's about karmic justice. It's about things, calibrating, things balancing themselves out naturally. And it's definitely about, karmic destiny. It takes time to reach this state of calibration. It takes time. And I feel like a lot of it is just, the other person needed to go around the block, needed to let off steam, needed to experience whatever it was they needed to experience before they can come back into the picture. And so whether or not you choose to, re-engage, that is up to you. But I definitely feel an apology coming through. Okay? An apology for, being so blind and not recognizing a situation, not recognizing what they had, or not recognizing the effort that you put in. I'm seeing a situation where somebody has, like a Sagittarius person, has reached has achieved a lot of fame and a lot of fortune, coming into fame and fortune, and now this person is coming back. Take that how it applies. Because I feel like, I don't sense that they're deceiving you, but I do sense that you have moved on, okay? And it has nothing to do with the newfound wealth or the new status. I feel like you're operating from a space where you're a lot more discerning. And I feel like the other person might not, it's like a little bit too late, okay? A little, like too little too late. And so the last card we have here is the Magician. And once again, the eyes, okay? Sleight of hands. And this is a situation where there is a major unveiling process. So I feel almost like somebody was made aware. Okay, the feathers have lifted. Okay, the teasing is over, is what I'm feeling. And seeing something in its true colors, seeing something in true light, okay? So no more games, no more messing around, no more, I keep seeing like Sagittarius, you're serious. And the other person, they're made aware of this now. Because you might have iced them, you might have turned cold, you might have turned your back. Mainly because you were in a situation where it was too much, too painful, too confusing, you don't like to be in a state where you're confused and indecisive, okay? And I feel like it was a difficult situation to contend with. And now they're made aware that you're serious. At any moment now, you can turn your back and completely walk away. And you would be okay, but they're aware now that they're not going to be okay. So there's a lot resting on this the mending, reconciling of this relationship, because somebody's made aware of the consequences of their action or inaction. I feel more like inaction from their end. They're made aware of how that impacted you, and they're made aware of how belittled I feel like you felt as a result of it. Okay, so let me see if there is anything else. Oh yeah, one last thing. There was another image, but I feel like it came and went so fast that I don't know. I would just relay it to you because it came out in the pre-shuffle. It was like one of the first thing that came out, but the image didn't stick, so I'm a little bit hesitant about relaying this to you. Anyways, so there's a little girl. She's not little. She's a teenager, probably 16, 17, 18, probably like college bound. She's pacing back and forth in her living room, looking out the window, looking at the mail. Okay, she does this day in and day out, and you kind of see like the weather changing, the day and night. And so finally the mailman comes, and he walks, instead of just shoving some letters in the mailbox, he walks up to the front door and delivers the mail. She excitedly grabs the mail, opens all of it up, and there's this letter that she's been waiting for, and she's so happy. She kisses the letter, and then the scene cuts out. So I feel like there is much awaited communication. You've been waiting day and night for communication. You've been waiting for, I feel for many of you, this is a major, like a loan. You could take out a loan in order to do something, and you're waiting for approval. You're waiting for refinancing for a property for some of you. You're waiting for like acceptance letter, admission, for even like for a scholarship, for a competition, for a university. I'm seeing for med school for some of you, for something amazing, even like a job offer. Okay, so I feel like something like that is coming through. And I feel like there's a lot of career success, worldly success, and your reputation, your public image, everything is being, I see like things bursting in a really magnificent way, like lighting up your 10th house, which is the house for career and public image and all of those things. So it's looking very good, Sagittarius. I'm going to leave it at that. I hope the reading has been helpful for you guys. I hope that this video finds you well. And I also hope that, if you've been going through this situation back and forth with another person, that it gets resolved, okay? You're in a very good position to call the shots, to negotiate, to dictate terms, your own terms. Okay, so don't let this energy slip you by. You're in a very good position to. I feel like you have leverage when it comes to negotiation. Okay, so use that to your advantage. I will leave it at that. And Sagittarius, if you are looking for a private reading, I do have a link in the description box, below for a person. Her name is Bridget. She's based out of California, and she is a psychic. If you're interested in spiritual guidance and things like that, I highly recommend you book a reading with her. And I will see early reading for you. No promises, but I'll try to do that, mainly because I think those are always helpful. Anyway.